The 2024 NFL season is coming to a close with Super Bowl 57 right around the corner as the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs are looking to take on a stacked San Francisco 49ers squad. You name a position, the San Francisco 49ers probably have an all-pro player playing at that exact position. And they are being led by Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, Brock Purdy, as this seems to be a bit of a rematch of the 2020 NFL Super Bowl, where these two teams did face off against each other in Hard Rock Stadium. However, things will be a little bit different this time around, as this 49ers roster is a lot older, a lot more experienced, and has a better QB under center. Now, I think it is fair to say that the NFL has never been more popular than it is right now. And sure, you could attribute some of that success to the NFL's natural growth, as the game has been on the rise for the past few decades now. Or hell, you could even attribute some of that success to the play on the field, as there has never been more talent in the NFL than we are seeing. I mean, the number of quarterbacks that can just blow your mind on a night in and night out basis is absolutely unbelievable. But if we're being realistic here, there is one clear and obvious reason as to why the NFL has seen such an increase in viewership over these past few months. And it all has to do with one woman, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is obviously the reason that the NFL has gotten such a boost, not only in the sports world, but in mainstream media in general. If we were to take a look at every single game that Taylor Swift has been able to attend for the Kansas City Chiefs this season, we'd see a major boost in viewership. And that's saying a lot, because on average, an NFL game had around nearly 18 million viewers just this season alone. So the fact that Taylor Swift being there was able to add to that number is even more unbelievable. If we include the playoff games so far, she has been able to attend 12 games for the Chiefs, and they've had a record of 9-3 in those games. So they seem to perform very well when Taylor Swift is in attendance. Now, the very first game she was able to make it to was in late September, when my Chicago Bears walked into Arrowhead and took on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, of course, any football fan knew going into that game it was going to be a blowout. And what better way for Taylor Swift to introduce herself to the NFL world than with a surefire victory against a pretty mediocre squad. Now, this game was a bit of a snooze fest, if we're being honest. Hell, it was pulled from primetime halfway through because of how uninteresting it was. I'm pretty sure the Cowboys-Cardinals game was being played in its place. But however, you know, Kansas City did their thing, okay? Patrick Mahomes threw for 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. As for Travis Kelce, he was able to get himself a touchdown midway through the third quarter. It was pretty easy at that point. He ended up catching 7 receptions, 69 yards, so he played well as well. Now, while that game did go well for the Kansas City Chiefs, we as NFL fans wouldn't truly see the Taylor Swift effect until a week later, when the Kansas City Chiefs traveled to New York to play the New York Jets in prime time on Sunday Night Football, the second game of the season that Taylor Swift would be attending. Now, since this game was in prime time, it was in New York City, where the lights are the brightest. This is where we got the full Taylor Swift force, because 27 million viewers showed up to watch this game, whether in person or online through their televisions, alright? It was the most watched Sunday show since the last Super Bowl in February. That's how big of a game this was. And let me tell you, the New York Jets weren't much of a good team at this point. Aaron Rodgers had already been injured for the season. So basically, everyone was there to see the romance of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce continue, because at the time, this was very early on in their relationship publicly. Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs did end up winning this game, and to be fair to the New York Jets, they did keep it very entertaining. Now, as for Travis Kelce, he may not have got his touchdown this go around, but he did get 6 receptions for 60 yards, which is very solid for a tight end. Now, we wouldn't really get to hear about Taylor Swift and the true impact she was having on these games until the playoffs rolled around. And, you know, the wild card round was against the Miami Dolphins. And of course, Taylor Swift is gonna show up to this game no matter how bad the weather is. She had been there for her boyfriend all season, so why should the playoffs be any different? Now, as for the product on the field, Tyreek Hill, former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver, now superstar on the Miami Dolphins, did his best to keep this game entertaining as it was his return to Arrowhead. Hell, he even broke away for a touchdown halfway through this game. However, that wasn't enough for the Miami Dolphins, as this very powerful offense looked stagnant all day. And that was really unfortunate because, Miami's biggest tool was their offense, and yet it just didn't seem to work against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so this game would end up being a 26-7 blowout. And, that would mean that the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, would be moving on to the very next round. As for viewership, this game would go on to accumulate more than 23 million viewers, which may not sound like a lot, but you have to remember that this game was exclusive to Peacock. Had it been on regular television, it would have gotten even more, but thanks to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's relationship, it helped get, Peacock more viewers. 23 million on Peacock alone, unbelievable, especially with how many people were probably pirating this game. And this brings me to the very next game I want to talk about, a divisional round matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in a game that would go on to garner 50 million viewers on CBS, making it the largest NFL audience on record outside of a Super Bowl. And maybe the NFL world didn't need the help of Taylor Swift on this one, just because the storyline between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen has been growing and building for the past few years. But I do think Taylor Swift being there and the Swifties watching did contribute to the 50 million number that we are seeing from CBS, okay? Now, this game was absolutely thrilling, okay? This one was worth watching, and Travis Kelce balled out in this one, okay? The Chiefs were down 6-10 in the second quarter, and then Travis Kelce caught a 22-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes so that the Chiefs could take a lead. And then later in the third quarter, the Chiefs were down yet again, 13-17, and this is where Travis Kelce would receive a 3-yard pass to Patrick Mahomes for another touchdown, his second of the game, giving them another lead. And of course, later in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs would drive down the field at the beginning of it, take a lead that they would not let go of, as they would being pushed to the AFC Championship for the fourth, fifth time in a row at this point. Unbelievable from the Kansas City Chiefs. And that meant that they were going to be playing another game of football, this time against the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship. And at this point, Taylor Swift, for as popular as she is, as popular as the Kansas City Chiefs are, people were just hating on it constantly. They wanted the quarterback, for the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, to be the one to, stop all of this Taylor Swift momentum from continuing. And that didn't happen because, Lamar Jackson just didn't show up in this AFC Championship game when all eyes were on him. And when I say all eyes, I mean it, because this game had 55 million viewers, the most watched AFC Championship game ever. Shout out to Taylor Swift. She has brought on a large female audience that wasn't there before for the NFL. I think that's very important to mention. A normal Taylor Swift fan isn't usually going to be watching the NFL, but now that she's dating Travis Kelce, they're going to tune in to see their girl, and it's understandable. It is completely ridiculous as to how much hate Taylor Swift is receiving from the sports world for showing up a total of less than 35 seconds per game that she's at. That's nearly less than 1% of a total NFL game, okay? So the fact that you're upset that she's shown on the screen all the time, yeah, that's all in your head, buddy. And you know what? Shout out to Taylor Swift for winning 2 more Grammys, making it a total of 14 for her. I know she won 2 Grammys just the other day, where she won one for Best Pop Vocal Album and Album of the Year. Midnights was an absolute banger, so it absolutely deserves all of the awards. Can't wait to see Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl this year. Catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.